Aragorn never meant to come by Minas Tirith. The road he wished to take was a hidden path next to the Falls of Rauros. Now the only member of the Fellowship that would pass by this road was the exact member that had wished to go to the White City. Swiftly Boromir fell over the Great Falls, held stable, perhaps, by the elven magic of his boat. He travelled through unnamed streams through the marsh of the Entwash, where Aragorn had meant to follow a path marked by small stone cairns. He travelled by the side of the beacon of Halifirien, where Rohan and Gondor had made their alliance long ago. The tomb of none other than King Elendil himself was located there. Perhaps the ancient king watched Boromir go by, from afar. Further on, between the reeds at Ithilien, he was stopped for a moment by a man he recognized, his brother Faramir, who cried out to him. But he would not respond. His journey would take him out to sea. The Lord of the Rings Online, or LOTRO, is an MMORPG released in 2007 and remains, in my humble opinion, one of the best adaptations of Tolkien's world. In this video I will try to show you the hidden or not so hidden details that make the world of LOTRO so immersive and lively. Last we left off, we were shown a vision of the demise of Minas Tirith by Denethor, but it is not too late, and we sped off in search of the Rohirrim. The horse you borrowed from the city stables quickly takes you past the north gate of the Ramas Ekor. Along the northern road, you find a part of your vision had come true. In the grass lies the body of Hirgon, messenger of Denethor. His head had been removed from his body, and in his hand he still clutches the red arrow that has been a symbol of a request for aid by Gondor for centuries. As described in the books, another man is with him. In-game we find this second messenger still alive, just long enough to tell us that Théoden had received their message and is on his way to the White City. However, just like in the books, a great camp of orcs lies in between them and the outer wall, which would cost them precious time to clear out. The only way must lie somewhere in the haunted woods of the Drúadan nearby. You set off into the forest, and you notice immediately, this forest is strange. You move between the great trees, whose roots lie exposed on the forest floor. Soon your sharp eyes find strange tracks of what must be a two-legged creature. As you follow them, the vague sound of drumming slowly becomes louder. As you follow this noise, unbeknownst to you, the being whose tracks you stalk has already found you.
Why do you come to forest of wild men?
A gruff voice asks. Here we meet the Drúadan, wild men that have been living in the area surrounding this forest since the First Age. This individual is called Cor Buri Khan, and turns out to be the son of the chief of the Drúadan, Khan Buri Khan. You bond with Cor Buri Khan over your goal of eliminating the orcs, or Gorgun as Cor Buri Khan calls them, near the forest. Cor Buri Khan takes you to Drubuta, the village of the Drúadan. It lies hidden between the outcroppings of the nearby mountains, lit by unearthly lamps. Great statues of Pukel men watch over the little town, the same ones you saw at Dunharrow. We meet with Chief Khan Buri Khan. He is described in the books as a gnarled as old stone, with his scraggly beard hanging on his chin like moss. He had short legs and fat arms, thick and stumpy, and wore only grass around his waist. He reminds you of the statues his people make. He promises to help the Rohirrim after we prove to be trustworthy. He asks us to retrieve the body of his eldest son Bai Buri Khan from the orc camp where he was murdered. But while you're there, you can't help but getting a little captivated by these strange people living inside this forest. You learn of their history through their wood carvings. Visit the nearby quarry where the men of Gondor once mined the stones that built the White City. You even witness a marriage ceremony where they pull a little prank on your unfamiliarity with their customs by asking you to tickle a sacred goat. Marriage should also contain laughter, after all. You help a hunter stalk an elusive white stag through the forest, and just as you near it, it seems to disappear. Where its hooves had touched the ground, glowing white flowers appear. The glade now seems full of them. You pick a few and decorate the houses of the woodmen with them. This forest is strange. Finally, you learn the function of the mysterious Book-Elmen you came across in Dunharrow. They are wards, which are meant to watch over the woodmen and protect them from evil. At first you're not sure whether they are metaphorical protectors or are imbued with some kind of hidden power. You collect fragments from broken statues and bring them to a Drúadan. This person crafts what he calls the heart for the statues, named Okwo Kuryo. This heart is put into one of the broken statues, while you fend off the mysterious creatures that have been pouring out of the old quarry. A deep howling sound emanates from the statues as it is repaired. You collect some stones from the quarry to repair more statues throughout the forest. And as you walk away from your work, you're sure you saw the statue moving in the corner of your eye. This forest is strange. After finally retrieving the body of Khan Buri Khan's son, he implores you to meditate under a tree in the forest. You let these strange experiences wash over you, while the sounds of the wood permeate your mind. This forest is strange and really beautiful. In another life you might have stayed a little longer, warmed by the hospitality of the Drúadan. But one cannot choose the world they live in, and there is an errand you must complete. So you get up and leave. Wading through the forest, you eventually find the camp of the Rohirrim. There you catch up with many of the people that you met in Roham, like Thrim Redbeard from Wildermoor and Thane Grimbold of Grimslade. You also have a moment to catch up with Merry, and learn he is travelling with the group against the orders of King Théoden, together with a quiet soldier called Dernhelm. Théoden meets with Khan Buri Khan, an event which is fully described in the books. The woodmen tell the Rohirrim of an ancient stonecarver's path that leads straight to the battlefield. After clearing the route of any rubble and running some other errands, you head off with the Rohirrim towards battle. You arrive at the Ramas Ekor to see the White City already burning. Quickly, you take your place within the line.
Guthlaf!
Yes, my lord.
I have need of your horn, loyal Guthlaf. Arise! Arise, riders of Théoden! Fell deeds awake, fire and slaughter. Spear shall be shaken. Shield shall be splintered. A sword day, a red day, ere the sun rises. Ride now, ride now, ride to Gondor.
Forth, Eolingus!
Your spirit soars as you feel the drumming of thousands of mounted warriors crash into a sea of enemies. In the distance, the White City is burning as it was in your vision. Around you, soldiers are thrown about by battle trolls, in between charges of mounted companies. In the distance, armored Mumakil and flying Nazgul rip apart the battlefield. You do your part in thinning the herd, and help some of the dismounted soldiers get up off the ground. Pushing through the waves of Easterlings, you manage to find the leader of the Variags and slay him. The Black Serpent, the Lord of the Easterlings, is a tougher nut to crack.
You are a brazen lot to cut such a swath of death through our men, and all to stand before me. The Wraith has offered me these lands, but I have no love for them. Even if all who inhabit them were slain, the sight of these fields would still repulse me. These men of Gondor and Rohan are soft, untrained, and soon they shall all be dead. Our poisons coat every blade, every single arrow. Each man's death has only to find him now.
His two sons harry you from horseback, but King Théoden manages to cut down the serpent, like he does in the books, though there it happens in a great clash of their horses. Though, a little later, he will have to face another black serpent.
Eolingus, to me, fear no darkness.
Begone, carrion lord. Leave the dead in peace.
Come not between the Nazgul and his prey. You will know worse things than death in the Chamber of the Eye.
It is nothing to me. Still, I will hinder you.
Say you so? No living man may hinder me.
But no living man am I. You look upon a woman. Éowyn I am, daughter of Éomund. You stand between me and my lord and king. Begone, if you be not deathless. I will smite you if you touch him. Ah! Oh!
Éowyn! Éowyn!
And so dies the King of Rohan, under the weight of his own loyal steed.
Well, master, very dark. I go now to my father's. Even in their mighty company, I will not now be ashamed.
Forgive me for breaking your command, my lord.
It is forgiven when you sit in peace with your pipe. Think of me, but where is Éowyn? He must be king after me. And I would send word to Éowyn. She did not want me to go.
My lord, she is...
After reuniting with Lord Forlong and Heirluin, you travel across the battlefield with Reeve Ingbert. You move towards a small hillock, but your path is blocked by several great Mumakil. In a stroke of fate, you meet Duilin and Dedofin here again, who offer to distract and slay the beasts they have become so adept at dealing with. However, Dedofin is hit with an arrow, and then trampled by his prey. Duilin, distraught, has the beasts chase after him, You hear one great cry, and then he too is gone. Before you reach the hillock, you encounter a wraith named Orlang, who proclaims the return of King Eärnur, just as Gandalf had feared.
Which king of Angmar is slain? Victory has been won.
You ready yourself for your last stand on top of the hill together with Éomer. You find Dunhede here slain, taking an arrow meant for Éomer's chest. You find Forlong here too, mourning his friend Hirluin. You saw them both alive just a few moments ago. You fight on, but the situation is looking dire. But then... Aragorn has finally arrived with his fleet.
Eladon, Elro here. We head for the southern gate of the Rammas. Quickly now.
Together you work your way through the quays of Harlond and join the battle with renewed hope. Through the harbour, you meet a Nazgul enraged at the sight of his master's plan failing. You momentarily banish this spirit before rejoining Aragorn on the field of battle. For the first time in days, you see a blue sky again. Around the battlefield, some orcs feign death in order to ambush unsuspecting warriors. You clear some of them off. Though this is not the end of death on this day.
Run away, little man.
I will not run from the like of you.
That is a pity. I could use the sport. I have ended the lives of so many. You will not survive this encounter.
Perhaps not. But I will be satisfied to give my last, removing you and your master from this world!
You witness two more friends perish. Horn of the Rohirrim at the hand of a Black Númenórean, and the Ranger Goladir, whose connection to King Eärnur goes back all the way to the beginning of the game.
At last I will escape him and go beyond his reach.
After these moments, Aragorn confronts Gothmog on the battlefield.
Who are these others? And why have you come?
These are my friends and my kin. We have come by dangerous roads to put an end to you and your evil.
I am afraid you have wasted a journey, for I cannot be ended.
Gothmog attempts to slay Aragorn, but the ranger Halbarad takes the hit meant for his chieftain. Though Gothmog is banished from the battlefield.
Hearken to me! There is no future for you, or for your master. You know my name, and the name of my mighty ancestor. So too do I know yours. But hearken to me, Gothmog, and Mordorith, and Eärnur. I have come out of the years of darkness to defy your master and all for which he stands. Sauron will fall, and Mordor will perish, and you will know the darkness of true oblivion. The dawning of a new age is upon us. Begone, for there is no place in it for such as you. Begone!
Though Gothmog is banished from the battlefield, Aragorn mourns his dear friend Halbarad, whom we too met already a very long time ago.
Loyal friend.
And so you stand victorious on the field of battle, under a dusty sun. though the happiness is overshadowed by grief, which for some may be too great to bear. Deep within the city, in Rathdinen, or the Silent Street, a tragedy has taken place. The door lies open, and a dead guard lies in front. The steward Denethor has taken his son, Faramir, who was still recovering from a poisoned arrow, to be burned alive in the tombs of their forefathers. Gandalf, Pippin, and the city guard Beregrond have already gone in, and we give chase. But we are stopped by the conspirators of the Withered Tree, who wish to kill the steward and his son. You dispatch them, only to be met with a Nazgul, who raises the ghosts and corpses of the stewards and kings of old against you. After dispatching these ghosts and the Nazgul, you find Gandalf and Pippin again. Denethor stands upon a great pyre of wood, ready to set himself and Faramir alight. No words of Gandalf seem to reach him, even as Faramir clearly still lives. Gandalf takes Denethor's son from the pyre, and Denethor takes a torch from one of his guards and sets himself alight. As he burns, he takes out the Anor stone one more time and gazes upon it while he dies, just like in the books. It is said this stone would never again show anything but a pair of old burning hands after this event. Aragorn has set up a pavilion outside of the city, since he does not wish to enter it before he is ready to claim the kingship. Though the daylight finally shines upon the fields of Pelennor again, there are some grim tasks to be done. First, the body of the fell beast stains the battlefield black. Especially Éomer wants it removed, though Gandalf wishes to retain the head of the beast for study by the city's scholars. The body burns with an eerie green flame, and the place where it lay will forever be scorched black. Next, you are asked to search for missing people on the battlefield. Some you miraculously find alive, like Dervorin of the Ringlow Vale and Golasgil of Anfalas. Most are not as lucky, like Turgon, the guard of the South Gate, Hirluin the Fair of Binathgelin, Duilin and Derofin, whom you are tasked to identify as their father is too grief-stricken. And Old Forlong the Brave. You find him alive, but in his last moments. He wishes for the company of Thorongil, Aragorn's alias of old with which he went to battle together. Aragorn joins Forlong's side, and the bright sun shines upon them during his last breath in Middle-earth. Inside the city, the great ram lies broken at the gates. You collect supplies and free trapped survivors from the rubble of the city's walls. Some goblins still lurk in the ruins, which you quickly dispatch. Lastly, the heads of those fallen at Osgiliath still litter the outer wall. Respectfully, you remove them. As you make yourself busy with this work, an errand rider comes for you. Surprisingly, it is from Pippin at the Halls of Healing. You find him standing beside Merry, who lies in a bed unconscious, paler than death. Worried, you help the head healer Ioreth with her tasks. Next to her lies Faramir, recovering from the onslaught in the Silent Street, also deathly pale. You spend some time mixing herbs and attempting to treat patients, though you notice some of them don't respond to your help, even when they appear perfectly fine physically. It is then the healer Ioreth remembers an old wisdom. The hands of the king are the hands of a healer. Quickly, Gandalf fetches Aragorn, who decides to try and keep his identity secret and sneak through the city. He inspects Faramir, Éowyn, and Merry, but they do not respond. They walk some dark path, their minds being assailed by dark thoughts and lies. Aragorn knows Athelas might help with this ailment, and asks Ioreth to search the city for Kingsfoil. You mark patients with the Black Breath, as this disease has come to be known, so Aragorn may quickly find them. Outside, Bergil comes to help with the search for Athelas. Some of it you find growing fresh in small corners in the city, where it has not been plucked. Some citizens also have tried Athelas with them, which they kept for its sweet smell, and are now willing to donate to you. With these new provisions, Aragorn first wakes Faramir. In the presence of the city guard that helped save his life, he awakes and pledges his services to Aragorn. Éowyn's suffering is a little more complex, as she suffers not only from this black breath, but also from the despair of the cage he has lived in, though she too wakes. Lastly, Meriadoc Brandybuck awakens from his dark slumber, though he despairs at the loss of King Théoden, and denounces his treasure pipe, as he had talked with the late king about the different types of leaf that they enjoyed. Aragorn comforts him. The king would have liked Merry to think of him while he smoked, Aragorn thought. And so, quietly during the night, the king shortly returns to his city to heal the wounded. While his official return would have to wait a little, the rumor of the return of the king will be buzzing through the city in the coming days. After Aragorn returns to his pavilion, it is time to plan ahead. To his trusted allies and lords, he reveals that he has shown himself to Sauron in the Seeing Stone of Orthanc. The hasty first strike of Sauron broke upon the city, but the second will not. Gandalf reveals the ring is on its way to Mordor, and suggests a diversion. Attack Sauron in his home, and make him think Aragorn wields his ring, thus giving Frodo a chance. And so, it is decided. With the final plan made, it is time to bury the dead. The soldiers gather around at night, and you light the great pyre as the dead are remembered. Duilin and Derufin, who we had met just 2 days ago in Ithilien, brave enough to tackle the Mumakil. Hirluin the Fair, who we met in the last happy hours before the battle in a tavern in the city. Forlong the Old, a valiant and happy ally on the battlefield. Turgon, guard of the South Gate, who stood his ground even when the tide seemed to bring in new enemies. Elfmar, son of Elfhelm, Thane of Faldham, whose town we helped defend in East Rohan. Harding, Thane of Harwick and Alder of the East Emnet, who had sent us to Wildermoor to check on the region. Torfirth, Thane of Thorsbury, who we helped avenge his father and save both the towns of Thornsbury and Stoke from treachery. Grimbold of Grimslade, whom we rescued from despair at the grave of the fallen prince, and helped to relieve his king in Helm's Deep. Deorwine, whose wife we helped protect her town of Walstow. Dunhere, whose wife, Ellen Fremedon, we helped resolve a conflict between her and Éowyn about the housing of refugees in Underharrow. Guthlaf, who we met at the burning lumber mill in Fenmarch. Horn, who is not explained further in the books, but is a dear friend and travel companion in-game. Hirefara, who you helped save the town of Brockbridge. Herubrand, father of Hirefara, whose town of Woodhurst was being torn apart between Rohirrim and Dunlending politics. Nothmar, Thane of Gaphold, which struggled with the housing of refugees caused by the war in Rohan. Fastred, Thane of Snowborn. The rangers Idrun Fair and Prestadir, who were with us during our time in Mirkwood. Halros, who camped out in the green fields of the Shire, and potentially one of the first rangers you ever meet in-game. Neglank, who we rescued back in Dunland. Kellerand, who we rescue in Eredluin, also potentially one of the first rangers you ever meet in-game. Nestadron, who we rode with in the Grey Company. Mandan, who you meet in the Angle of Mythaethel, a skilled healer, according to himself. Goladir, father of Lorniel, mortal enemy of Mordorith, a grim ranger who made the cursed lands of Angmar his home. Halbarad, Aragorn's right-hand man, leader of the Dunedain in Théoden in his absence. Théoden King, son of Thangol, King of the Mark. May you rest in peace. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed the inclusion of in-game audio into this version. I had forgotten how detailed the Battle of the Pelennor Fields is shown inside LOTRO, and how many of the characters we meet in-game are actually mentioned in the books. It is also a strange coincidence to be making this video in the week that Bernard Hill, the actor of King Théoden in Peter Jackson's movies, passed away. I'm glad to have been able to honor him in a small way. Same as the people who walked from Minas Tirith in Edoras in-game just yesterday as I record this, in order to bring him home. If all goes according to plan, we will finally see the destruction of the One Ring in the next episode. I'm very excited, and I hope you are too. See you again next time.